The fluorescent lights in the children's cancer unit hummed with a cold, sterile buzz that seemed to swallow every trace of warmth. The air smelled of antiseptic and something heavier, like worry mixed with fading hope. Outside, December snow fell in slow flakes, muffling the sounds of the city below. Somewhere down the hall, a monitor beeped its steady, mechanical rhythm. In room 312, a small boy lay propped against white pillows that seemed to swallow his tiny frame. Ethan Michael Johnson was 6 years old, though the cancer had stolen the roundness from his cheeks and the spark from his eyes. His mother, Sarah Johnson, sat beside him, fingers wrapped around his small hand, her eyes rimmed with red from sleepless nights. The doctors had given them 3 weeks, and Ethan, despite everything, still smiled, still believed in magic, still dreamed of motorcycles. Before we go any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of community, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel. Tell us in the comments where you are watching from, because stories like this remind us that humanity still exists in every corner of the world. It started with a simple wish. The hospital had a program for children with terminal illness. When the volunteer asked Ethan what he wanted most in the world, the boy did not hesitate. He said he wanted to meet a real Hell's Angel. Sarah covered her mouth. Her son had been obsessed with motorcycles since he could walk, but specifically, the Hell's Angels. He thought they looked like superheroes, he told her once, big and strong, and not afraid of anything. The volunteer promised to try. Days passed. Sarah began preparing Ethan for disappointment, but Ethan just smiled and said they would come. He knew they would. The phone call reached Marcus Steele in a smoky garage 40 miles outside the city. Marcus was president of the local Hell's Angels chapter, a man with arms like bridge cables and tattoos covering every visible inch of skin. His colors had seen 30 years of road dust. When he heard about the boy, something shifted behind his weathered eyes. He told his brothers there was a kid, 6 years old, dying of cancer, and his one wish was to meet them. The room fell silent. Big Joe set down his wrench. Maverick pulled off his bandana and rubbed his shaved head. Marcus told them they were riding out in 3 days. Spread the word. On December 14th, Sarah woke Ethan early. She dressed him in his favorite leather biker jacket from the consignment shop. He insisted on wearing his biker boots too. When she asked where they were going, she just smiled and said it was a surprise. They wheeled him to the hospital entrance. Ethan squinted at the bright morning sun, and then he heard it. A sound like distant thunder growing louder, a rumble that vibrated through the concrete and into his bones. The first motorcycle crested the hill, then another, then 10 more, then 50, then hundreds. Sarah gasped and gripped the wheelchair handles. Ethan sat up straighter than he had in weeks, eyes going wide. The sound was deafening now, a wall of chrome and leather and roaring engines filling the entire parking lot. 1,000 motorcycles. Security later confirmed the count. 1,000 Hell's Angels from 7 different states. They lined the streets for blocks. Patients pressed their faces to windows. Doctors stepped outside, stethoscopes forgotten around their necks. Marcus Steele rolled his Harley to a stop directly in front of Ethan. He killed the engine and swung off. The sudden silence felt almost sacred. Marcus walked forward and knelt in front of the wheelchair. He introduced himself and asked if Ethan was the brave young man he had heard about. Ethan nodded, eyes shining with tears. Marcus reached into his colors and pulled out a tiny leather vest, custom-made, with a patch that read, "Ethan, Little Warrior, Honorary Hell's Angel." The big man helped the boy put it on. Ethan ran his fingers over the leather, whole body trembling. Behind Marcus, 1,000 bikers stood in formation. Then, on some unspoken signal, every single one raised a fist to the sky. A voice rang out, "For Ethan." 1,000 voices roared back, "For Ethan." The boy burst into tears of pure joy. He looked up at Marcus and asked if he could hear the motorcycles one more time. Every rider threw a leg over their machine. 1,000 engines roared simultaneously, shaking windows and rattling car alarms for blocks. They held it for 2 full minutes, and Ethan, in his tiny leather vest, closed his eyes and smiled wider than he had in months. When the engines fell silent, Marcus knelt beside him again. He said they brought some things. Bikers unloaded their saddlebags. Boxes of toys filled 3 hospital playrooms, model motorcycles, video games, and thick envelopes from every chapter in the region, over $40,000 in cash, raised in 72 hours. Sarah fell to her knees in the snow, sobbing. A female rider named Raven wrapped an arm around her. Marcus placed a weathered hand on Ethan's shoulder. He told him being a Hell's Angel was not about the motorcycle or the vest. It was about family, about showing up when it matters, about being brave even when scared. And Ethan was braver than any of them. Ethan said he was not scared anymore. Marcus nodded. He said that meant Ethan was ready. Ready for what? Ethan asked. Marcus leaned close, voice dropping to a whisper. Ready to ride. They had arranged it with the hospital, a special heated sidecar attached to Marcus's Harley. They bundled Ethan in blankets and strapped him in safely. Sarah rode behind Maverick on another bike, with 1,000 motorcycles forming a convoy that stretched for miles. They took Ethan on the ride of his life, through downtown, past cheering crowds, past the mall where shoppers stopped and stared, past his elementary school where classmates screamed his name. For 45 minutes, Ethan rode with his new family, the wind on his face, thunder all around him, surrounded by 1,000 guardian angels in leather and chrome. When they returned, Ethan was exhausted but radiant. His color was better than it had been in weeks. Marcus carried him personally back to his room. He sat on the edge of the bed and looked at the boy with something fierce in his eyes. He told Ethan to remember something. Anytime he felt scared or alone, close his eyes and listen. They would always be with him. Always. Ethan nodded sleepily, touching the patch on his vest, before Marcus left. Ethan whispered something that made the tough biker turn away to hide his tears. Ethan said he felt like a superhero now. And before we end, we have one special request for you. Comment below with the words, "Little Warrior," to show that you stand with Ethan. Because sometimes, the smallest hearts carry the greatest courage, and sometimes, the toughest people show the most love. It's a lesson Ethan taught us all. Ethan passed peacefully, 8 days after his incredible ride. He was surrounded by his mother, Sarah, and the sounds of motorcycle engines, playing from a video of that magical day. A day he would never forget. A day that filled his heart with joy. At his funeral, 73 Hell's Angels formed an honor guard. Their leather biker jackets gleamed in the sun, a testament to their respect. They revved their engines. One final time, as his casket was lowered, the ground seemed to tremble with the power of their farewell. It was a tribute like no other. A roaring symphony of love and loss, and on the headstone, they carved a motorcycle, a lasting symbol of his spirit, and the words Ethan had earned, "Little Warrior, honorary Hell's Angel, forever riding in our hearts and in our memories. He may be gone, but he will never be forgotten. His courage, his strength, and his joy will continue to inspire us all, long after his engines are silent."